This Saturday, it's the kickoff to Super Wild Card Weekend. And for the first time, an NFL playoff game will stream exclusively on Peacock.
Unbelievable!
It all starts at 4:30 Eastern with the Browns and Texans on NBC and Peacock. And then witness history when the Chiefs host the Dolphins at 8 p.m. Eastern, only on Peacock.
The season comes down to this.
Go to peacocktv.com/NFL to learn more.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion. A happy new year to you all from me, your host, Stephen Wallace. On today's show, we are going back to last summer for the final part of our 2023 Silver Ashes series. You may recall during August, I spoke to the England over-70s captain, John Evans, about their first two one-day internationals, both of which England won to retain the Ashes. In this final part, John was joined by England all-rounder Nick Andrews and Australian opening batsman Tom Wood to discuss the pulsating final match and to reflect on the three-match series. Tom adds his thoughts on the whole trip and what it meant to the tourists. It's so much more than just playing for your country. Meanwhile, John, England's leading batsman, looks ahead to more exciting news for over-70s cricket. Hello, John. Welcome back to the final part of our Silver Ashes series. How are those legs?
Legs aren't too bad. The feet are an absolute nightmare, but I suppose that comes with the territory.
Well, you got more runs at the weekend, and before we talk about the final few overs, I just wanted to thank in advance the other guests on this podcast. We've got Tom Wood from Australia. Murray Harrison's making another short appearance. He was our guest last week, the Australian wicketkeeper, and Nick Andrews is back, who was also on the first podcast. But what a game on Sunday, John.
Yeah, amazing, really. Obviously, we did utilise our squad, which was really nice to be able to do. We've always felt that we were a squad, and it was really nice to bring Trevor Spindler and John Hall in. We were definitely aiming for three in a row. I didn't feel that we weakened the situation. And there were a couple of times in the game where really and truly we should have killed it off and got the 3-0 victory. In the end, I was very relieved to keep my unbeaten record as England skipper, because it was very, very tight at the end. It completely changed round.
Yeah, we ought to let listeners know to start with, the game was a tie. Have you played in many ties?
Not many, a couple over the years, but not many. And this one was about the most bizarre one I can ever remember, particularly the last ball.
Let's go back. You said earlier off air to the last few overs. Both teams got 182. So talk us through England's last few overs.
Yeah. Well, I got out. It looked, with myself and John Hall batting, we literally only needed 30 odd with 7 wickets left. And you sort of think, how on earth do you end up tying from there? And even when I was out myself, I got out as they're scoring for me on their devil number. They're 87. Played a bit of a loose shot and off Colin Cook, and taken a mid-wicket by Ian Petherett. And so I came off, but still thinking, well, that's all right now. And we needed 27 with 5 wickets left off 10 overs. And I thought, well, no problem. But then, Colin was had a couple more overs. He bowled very well. They bowled extremely well. We had 2 or 3 LBWs. There was a key run out where the 2 Essex guys, who I thought would probably see us home, Tim Smith got run out with a direct hit. So that was sort of uncatered for. Then we chipped away. I thought we were going to be all right. Then with 2 overs to go, we had 8 to get. And then Vince Bulger, who I gave their man of the match to, because he got a very good 49 to turn their innings round. Because initially we had them 70 for 6. And I thought, well, we're fine. But for the first time in the series, we didn't hold our catches. And they got up with Vince and Murray, got up to 182, which was far more than I thought they were going to get. But even then, with the batting we had and where we were, I didn't think it was a problem. But, I didn't cater for Vince Bulger bowling a maiden over in the penultimate over. So instead of 8 from 2, we now, with only 1 wicket left, we now need 8 from 1. So the first ball, little Mickey Kenyon, who's decent bat, superb bowler, but he'll admit not the quickest, but perhaps between the wickets. He played a beautiful little cut shot for 3, and so we're off and running. We had another couple of scrambled singles, but it came down to the last ball where Mickey was back on strike because Simon Sargent got the other end, and we needed 2. So 2 to win, and Mickey went down the wicket to try and hit it over the top, missed it, so stumping chance. Murray, who won't like me for saying this, fumbled the chance. The ball shot off to sort of like point area, and Sarge, who was very quick, Simon Sargent was very quick, got in at the striker's end, but Mickey Kenyon set off as fast as he could up to the other end. The ball was fielded, was thrown to the other end with either the bowler or another fielder by the stumps. I thought, oh no, he's going to be about 3 yards short. He fumbled it. The ball spilled off behind, and Mickey made his ground for the single for the bye for a tie. Quite a lot of their blokes collapsed on the ground in disappointment, and we actually celebrated because we didn't end up losing, which it looked like we probably were going to. So it was an amazing game. Twice I thought we had the game won comfortably, and then I thought we'd had it, and then we ended up tying. And in a way, obviously I wanted to win 3-0, but in a way, for everything they've done and their tour and the atmosphere on the day, it was quite a fitting finish in some ways, many people thought.
Oh, it sounds like an exciting last ball. It sounds like Nathan Lyon was at the other end, like 2019. Yeah.
Very similar, yeah. It just shows what pressure can do, doesn't it? It's, from both sides. So, both teams, I think, will look back on the 600 balls played in that day and think, if that had happened or that had happened, it could have gone, either way. So, but it was a great game, and it's been a great series. And we battled hard with them the other side of the boundary, but got on really well with them, at the dinners in the Pavilion.
Just going back to the game, you put Australia in, and they were 71 for 6. Was it a difficult track to bat on?
No, not especially difficult. There'd been a bit of rain on the Friday, and so I thought there might be a little bit of movement, and it did prove to be the case. But they started off well. Tom and Ron Headlam, I think they put 36 on and were going reasonably well. Then we put the brakes on. Tim Smith bowled very accurately and got a couple of wickets, got Tom Wood out, we then strangled. Our slow bowlers came on and bowled well. We were taking our catches at that time, and so we got them to 6, and then Vince and Murray came in, and so we're very positive in the way they played, really, and that changed it, and we simply started dropping catches, and I think we dropped 5 catches, which, we haven't dropped those in the rest of both series. So it was just it's just strange how it happened. But it was the right decision to put them in because I think the wicket did get better. And, but there was still a bit in it. Even when they were bowling at us, it was still seeming a little bit. But a good cricket wicket. It was, you could bat on it and you could, and there was a bit in it for bowlers.
Yeah, Murray Harrison 42 and Vince Bulger 49.
Yeah, and that was the turning point. And Colin Cook bowled very, very well for them in the second half. But I nominated Vince for man of the match because without his runs, they wouldn't have got anywhere near. And then, of course, he was the one bowling the maiden in the penultimate over.
Yeah, Colin Cook bowled 10 overs, 4 for 28.
Yes, yeah, he was decent. I played and missed at him a couple of times. He gets the ball to seam both ways. He's a quality cricketer. He always has been. Obviously, he's played first class cricket, so he's still maintained his abilities and his competitiveness.
And you were back at number 3 this time.
Yeah, Ian Corns declared himself fit, and so we wanted to give Cornsey another chance at opening. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out for him. As skipper, I actually prefer number 3. Gives you a little bit more time to reflect. I don't mind opening when I'm not captain, but I think when you're captain, it's quite a nice position to play because you can actually sort of think how the game's going and work out a few things, and you've got a little bit of time to calm down after you've been in the field.
And you added 80 runs with Andrew Peters, the other opener, who scored 32. Yeah,
and Andrew, he's had sort of an interesting series, really, because he's looked $1 million and he's got to 30 in every game and then just hasn't gone on. And I know how disappointed he is in that respect. I mean, he thoroughly enjoyed the experience. He was nice to bat with. He's a left-hander. He puts bad balls away. But he'd be the first to admit that, he'd be disappointed that he didn't go on and get a big one.
How did the 2 new players get on Sunday? Yeah,
Trevor was massively unlucky with his bowling. He bowled all right, and he had no luck at all. Most of the drop catches were off him. The where Tom stepped on his wicket, that was off him. There was possibly a stumping that wasn't given that we all thought may have been out, and that was off Trevor. So he could have easily ended up with 5 wickets. John Hall came in and was batting nicely with me, and then he nicked off to Colin Cook. So, but it was nice to be able to give them a game because they contributed a great deal when we played in Australia.
I've also spoken to Tom Wood and Nick Andrews about Sunday's game. So let's hear their thoughts on the tie. Tom, what a third one-day international at Maidenhaed. Talk us through that last over.
The last over was pretty tense. England started needing, I think, 8 runs off the over. And there was a couple of dot balls, and one the batsman back cut, one for free for our fieldsman's hands. That closed the gap. And as it got to the last ball, with England 9 out, they needed 2 to win. We needed to get a dot ball to win, and 1 run would be a tie. And what happened was, I think both batsmen, they hit the ball, and there was a bit of panic in the middle of the wicket. Our fieldsman got the ball, threw it to our wicketkeeper, who somehow fumbled the ball and juggled it and dropped it, and the batsman at the keeper's end got in, but the other guy was still well out, and the keeper threw it up to our bowler, who only had to catch it and take the bails off, and we'd win. But he managed to spill the ball too, and the English batsman got home for the tie, and everybody was a bit stunned. I must admit I was staggered that at one end we didn't pull off the win, but in hindsight, after the game, everybody, like a tie, as you said earlier, is pretty rare, and the English guys were pretty happy and that they didn't lose. We were disappointed that we didn't win, but then we settled back on and saying, well, a tie is a nice conclusion to the tour. Yeah.
And the wicketkeeper was Murray Harrison, who was on this podcast for the second ODI.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I think Murray probably did the thing of getting anxious at a quick look at the batsman, and when the ball come in, just fumbled it a bit and allowed him to get home. So, that's life, It
was a bit like Nathan Lyon at
Absolutely.
Headingley.
Absolutely, yeah. If he had kept his eye on the ball and just took the ball, because you can't do anything unless you got the ball. But it's very natural to reach out and have a look and say, but we, Murray did recover, threw it at the other end, and then Southall, who was a bowler at the other end, couldn't pull it off at that end. So, the result was the tie.
It's amazing what panic you get when you get so close, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And look, we've all been in a situation where we've either played a terrible shot or we've dropped the ball or dropped a catch or did something in under pressure. So that's what cricket's all about, I guess.
You were put in by England, and at 71 for 6, you must have thought you were in trouble.
We didn't think. We knew we were in trouble, but but we had Vince Bolger, who's an unorthodox batsman, but hits the ball hard, and he chanced his arm, against the off spinners and the slowies, and hit the ball very hard, and got a punishing 49, which and Murray got about 30 odd, and that
42
got us up
he got,
to
Murray. 42.
Yeah, 42. So so that got us up to a presentable target, provided we got some early wickets. But we could have been all out for under 100, but we got, I think in round figures about 180, and so we're in the game.
So you thought 182 gave you a chance of winning?
I think in any senior cricket, if you get 180 plus, you're in the game if you hold your catches, unless somebody plays a brilliant innings and, gets 100 and blows you off the park. But most times, you're in with a chance.
Well, you said brilliant innings. This series, John Evans, England captain, has been doing that. He got 87, and England at one stage were 147 for 3.
Yeah, well, I was saying to our blokes at the time, look, come on, guys, we've all played in games where we've won from here, and when we got John out, the other guys started to get under a bit of pressure, and we bowled some pretty steady overs, and you could feel the run rate building, and you could feel the tension in the guys batting, and then we started to get some wickets, and there was a brilliant run out at one stage, and the game completely turned around where the pressure was back on England for the first time in the series, and I think we outplayed them in that last quarter of that game, which we hadn't done in any of the 2 previous games. So
and Colin Cook got 4 for 28 off 10 overs, ex Queensland.
He did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, Colin's a good bowler. I'll tell you what, we're all disappointed about in the second one day. We reckon I was at mid-off and Colin was bowling, and we reckon John was at plumb LBW in the first over. It wasn't, and our Australian umpire gave him not out, but Cookie will go to his grave saying he was absolutely plumb, and I reckon he was. So he got away with one there, Johnny.
That was exciting, Nick. 182 each.
Yes, a bit frenetic in the end, really. It was a strange kind of game, Stephen. We were 2-0 up in the series, and we spoke really kind of positively about not relaxing and really wanting to make it 3-0, and for the first part of the game, that's how things looked. But the Australians, fair play to them, they came back well with the bat and got, wasn't really enough runs, and we thought we'd do that fairly easily, and at one stage we were. I think it was 147 for 3, and kind of game was almost over, really, with the side we had out. But as often happens in those situations, people leave it to somebody else and think, oh, it doesn't matter if I get out. John, bless him, had a fantastic series with the bat, and he was looking a little bit tired when he sort of got up to 87, and I think he was a bit cross that he got out to a tame shot, but that seemed to trigger a bit of a malaise in our side, and a bit of a collapse went on, and all of a sudden we were 9 down and about 15 still needed. So it made for quite a tense, exciting end, and all of a sudden the Aussies and their supporters were up shouting and whooping and giving it the Aussie shout, which we hadn't heard at all through the series. And yes, it all came down to a very frenetic last over, and I think a tie was about probably a fair result looking back on it.
I suppose in the end you were pleased with a tie.
It was one of those, we weren't sure whether to be pleased with it or not. I mean, we could have easily lost, and we could have easily won. I don't know, Stephen. It was one of the sort of strange situations. You didn't quite know what to feel. The emotions of the previous week, when we'd actually clinched the 2-0 series victory, was, fantastic. So you didn't want to be seen to be celebrating wildly a tie in a dead rubber. So it was a bit strange for a while, but afterwards, I think we all got on with the mandatory after-match celebrations, and it didn't seem to matter too much after that.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
John, what are your reflections on the 3-match series?
Well, it's just been an absolute joy for me. Both sets of blokes are absolutely brilliant. I mean, we're all over 70, but we're all very competitive still. And my oldest son came to the game on. Both my sons managed to come to one game each, and my oldest son got back off holiday on late on the night before, drove down to Maidenhaed, and he's been a decent little club cricketer, and he couldn't believe the standard. He said to my wife Judy that God, the standards is much higher than they expected, and the fielding, the bowling, etc. So that was nice to hear from a fella in his 40s who's playing club cricket. I think when people come at the international level, the standard for over 70s cricket is still pretty high.
You must be very proud, though, to have led England to retain the Ashes.
Yeah, I am. I'm absolutely chuffed. It's this year for me has been probably the most amazing in my cricket life. I've had a fantastic life in sport, but this has got to be the pinnacle. Leading your country at whatever age. Putting the Three Lions blazer on, putting the England kit on, having a fantastic bunch of blokes at my disposal to skipper against a really good, competitive, decent bunch of Aussies has just been brilliant.
And you scored 258 runs in total.
Yeah, it's funny how it goes in cricket. I had a game in the middle in a cup game against Middlesex for the over 60s second, and I played a complete proper orthodox forward defensive and got beaten all ends up and went off with the tail between my legs, for one run. And you can't understand suddenly how a run of form comes and you manage to keep it going. I am actually pleased the fact that I was able to lead the group from the front, and that I wasn't ever felt that I didn't deserve to be in the side on merit, which can be difficult for a captain. I think I was never worried about captaining the guys because they're just such an easy bunch to captain, and a top group of fielders, apart from the little hiccup we had in the 5 catches going down. But it's just been great.
And how did you find the 3 grounds that you played on?
Oh, all three grounds were stunning, and we were being made so welcome at Colchester, Wellington, and Maidenhead and Bray. We could not have been welcomed more. The ground staff were unbelievable. The pitches were excellent because it's been really tough this summer with the weather. I'm really pleased for the Aussies that they've missed half a game at Canterbury and Kent, but they've managed to play all their other games. And credit goes to the groundsmen throughout the country for being able to do that. And I couldn't speak high enough in terms of praise for how we've been welcomed.
Looking on the website for your last game, the Maidenhead and Bray Cricket Club, that was well known to the late great Sir Michael Parkinson. Yeah,
in fact, Chris Lowe, our manager, who lives in Bray and has spoken many times to Michael, did a little speech about him and what a really good bloke he is, and how their conversations have gone over the years. And we did a minute's silence for him, but also for a former England seniors player who caught Colin Cook on the last ball of the last tour when the Aussies were on to retain the Ashes for England. If the ball had gone over for 6, Australia would have retained them. And so, as well as for Michael Parkinson, or Sir Michael, sorry, I should say, we had a minute's silence for Stuart Bulger as well.
Oh, that was very fitting. Let's hear back from Tom and Nick about their reflections on the Ashes series. You lost the series 2.5. We're talking about Ryder Cup. We are in Ryder Cup sort of time here. How do you reflect on the series against England in England, Tom?
Personally, I think it was slightly disappointing. I thought we would handle ourselves a lot better than what we did. The first game, we were very much off the mark. Our fielding was ordinary. I thought our bowling was pretty ordinary in that game. I played a pretty rash shot and got out for a duck, and that didn't help us from the start of our innings. And then one of the other opener, he played, to say the least, a very stodgy innings, and which put us right behind the clock, and we were never quite in it. And so we're outplayed in that game. The second game, I thought, at one stage when England were batting, we got rid of John, and then we started to get some wickets. And there was when Nick come in, and very early on, before he'd scored many, he went down the wicket and missed a wrong, and I thought he was going to be stumped, and I couldn't believe he wasn't. But our keeper fumbled a bit, and he got back in, and then him and who was it?
Tim Smith, I think
it was. Tim Smith. Yeah, they put on about 80 then and got England to around about 230, which I thought at one stage we were going to need them out for about 170. So we had our chances in that to pull that game back a bit. But then when we batted, we didn't bat well again, and fell short of the mark. So I think the first two games we didn't adjust to the systems. We found the wickets quite slow, and I think England was smart. They picked an attack that suits that sort of wicket, and they just bowl wicket to wicket. There was no one in the English team that could bowl you the brilliant ball that would knock you over. It was more wearing you down, bowling, to their fields and just grinding into the dust type of thing, So it was good, steady cricket from their part, and we've got to acknowledge we're outplayed.
So did your batting let you down really during the 3-match series?
Yeah, it did. We'll see. I was one of the prime batsmen. Like, I had great series in February, and if I'd have got some starts, it might have put us in a different situation. We were behind the 8 ball from the start, and then we had various batsmen scored very well. Like Ian Davis had a cracking knock in the first game, and then he did his Achilles tendon while getting 60 odd. So he was out. Kevin Langdon, who's a very good bat, played really well, got 50 in the second game, but he did a leg, and then he was out for the rest of the tour. And then even our leg spinner, Mike Riley, who bowled well in the particular second game, he did his knee batting in a game against, forgetting now. We just a game immediately prior to the international, so we lost 3 of our main players, but we still played well in the last game. But the first 2 games we were off the mark. England were on the thing, particularly with John, in dominating batting form. John was the difference between the 2 teams. I think if we'd have got him out for a couple of moderate scores, I think it would have been really level pegging. So I've got to hand my accolades to John. I think he was the outstanding difference between the 2 teams. Yeah.
We said off air that you thought that the Australian team got better as the series went on, and another 2 matches, it would have been a closer series. I
think it would, because we sorted out how to set our fields on against the various batsmen. We took a bit of a leaf out of England's back. Australia we tend to have more attacking fields than the English do, but we started to realise on those slow wickets that we needed people back in certain spots to stop the fall. And we picked people like Vinny to bowl, not unlike the English guys, the sort of quick flat off breaks at the wicket, and he did a good job in the last 2 tests. And we started to adopt our game there, and we sort of started to think, well, we'll play these guys a different way, and I think that we were just coming to grips with it, and a number of players were starting to get some good form going with the bat. So it might have, another couple of test games might have been very close.
What about touring England? How much did you enjoy spending? I don't know exactly how long, over a month in England.
Yeah, look, fantastic. It was the second time. I went in 2018. I was supposed to go again in 2021, but COVID stopped it. Both those tours I enjoyed immensely. This one was nice because I had my wife with me. We had a great group of people. We stayed at some terrific places. Some of the, like the last 5 days were at Windsor and the Castle Hotel across the road from the castle. I love Chester, the historical place of Chester, and we got good tours around there. And then we're in Canterbury. We're right in the heart of Canterbury. And plus we had plenty of good eating, and you can't beat English pubs and things like that. And so the group of people that were in there, you bond as you go on, because at the start of the tour, and this is another difference between us and England, I didn't know 6 of the players until we were at Reigate, and they came, and then I had to sort of get acquainted. And then and even in the games, that means you take a few games to sort of sort out who does what as well, and whereas I think the English guys, because they play a lot of cricket against each other, and the county system, you haven't got the distances of Australia, they're more familiar with each other, and so, but towards the end, like, everyone was enjoying themselves, and the English guys, like, John Evans is a lovely bloke, and there's other guys in the team that I got to know from when we played them in Australia in February. And, the whole thing after the game, it's nice, mixing with your contemporaries from England and having a beer with them, and a few war stories and stuff. And you can't beat it. And you sit back and you think, okay, you lost the cricket, but you then think you're in your 70s and you're able to play for your country. You're able to play competitive cricket at a reasonable skill level for yourself and for the other teams you play against. And you're doing that, and you think about a lot of your friends who are sick at home and various things and can't do those things, and you just got to say it's just magic to be able to do it. And veterans cricket, it's wonderful. And, I think it's one of the best things going. And, and touring England, everyone's touring England. My 2 sons, when they were playing grade cricket and that, I got them to play in England, have a season in England for life's experience, and they loved it. So, it's the home of cricket, and it's wonderful. Yeah,
fabulous advert for seniors cricket.
Oh, seniors cricket is wonderful, mate. And I think there's one journalist once was talking to me, and he said, I think there's a bigger story than, okay, it's all right, you guys are playing cricket, but in Australia, for argument's sake, we're an ageing population. There should be something more made of the fact that, in your 70s, you can still go and play competitive cricket against England. And the cricket's a good standard. When I first started playing it, some of my mates are saying, where do you leave your wheelchairs outside the gate and all that? And I'm going, no, it's nothing like that, and it is, you won't see blokes tearing in and bowling like Tomo, but they still got all the skills and move the ball around and all the stuff that you'd expect them to do. And I just think it's great. And for society, it's wonderful to see people, at this age sort of still been able to do these things. And it's got to be great for society,
How do you reflect on the 3-match series, Nick?
Reflect. It's probably the most enjoyable. Well, not that I played that many series. Far from it. But personally, it was an awesome series. My first aim when I was in the squad was to play at least one of the games. 2 would have been great. 3 would have been fantastic. So I ended up playing all 3. And I was also keen. I wanted to try and contribute to anything that we might achieve. And, I feel I contributed in every game with bat and ball to some degree. And, I have to say I'm sort of very proud and very pleased with what I did, and, what the team did and how the whole series manifested itself.
You mentioned him earlier, your skipper, John Evans. What would you say about his contributions? He had a century and 2 250s.
Awesome. No two ways about it. His batting pretty well ensured that we won the Ashes. There wasn't a great deal of major contributions after that. There were several people chipped in with 30s, 20s, 40s, but John was the mainstay of the batting in all 3 games pretty well, and we managed to bat round him, and on each occasion we just about got enough runs to see us home. But he had a sensational series. Crikey, I can't imagine how proud he must be feeling at the moment.
He must be tired.
Yes, but a nice tired, and he will be tired, and especially with his exploits for sort of Gloucestershire before and after the series, the summer just keeps going on for him. Fantastic, top effort, top bloke.
What's he like to play under as a captain?
He's very good, excellent. He gets all the guys together, and we first experienced being under his captaincy last winter when Chris Swodkin was not well, and John had to deputise in several of the games and parts of the ODIs as well. And he was very straightforward, positive, said what he wanted us to do, very supportive of the players. Yeah, got only positive things to say about it, really.
It's got to be a summer to remember, though, and you made some more Australian friends off the field.
Yeah, that is probably one of the most enjoyable aspects of it. The cricket, luckily was really good, and whatever way it would have finished, the friends and mates that you meet and you catch up with, and new friends that you meet, it's just the icing on the cake on a series like that. There's no bad apples there. There's no people who think, oh well, I don't want to talk to him, or he's not someone you want to socialise with. Everyone to all the wives and partners as well. It was a sort of a really pleasurable and enjoyable session, the games and the socialising and getting on with the Aussies off the field as well. Yeah, top draw, absolutely.
John, who would you say was your player of the series? You can't pick yourself.
Okay. Oh, that's a really tricky one. I'd probably go for Nick Andrews then, because in a couple of games he had important 30s, and he chipped away with wickets in each of the games. And apart from one catch, he fielded well too. So it's a tricky one because pretty much everybody contributed, but overall, I think Nick's contribution helped us win the first 2 games, certainly.
Well, our previous guest and a guest on this podcast will be very pleased to hear that. I've got another question, a slight aside from the podcast. I asked the question to Murray, and I've done this to previous guests on the paddock and the pavilion. And if you could bat with anyone in history, who would it be and why? And Murray didn't choose an Australian, by the way.
No.
You've been around a long time, so you can go back as far as you like. I mean,
yeah. I have actually put on a 100 partnership with Zaire Abbas in a game, which was very bizarre because when I first went out to bat, I hit a single to covers and ran, and I got the other end, and he was still there and said no, and I belted back and just about got in. This continued for a while, and then he got 50. Everybody clapped. He stayed at the one end. Then he came up the other end and got another 50. It was against a World of Sport 11 with Fred Rumsey playing, and somebody at the club at Dumbleton, Wally Hammond, had scored 100 before lunch, and they told Zed this, and he said, "I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get 50 at one end and 50 at the other, all before lunch," and he did. The only thing was no one had told me that that's what he was doing. I think I got about 30 odd out of the 100. I mean, what an elegant player. So I've had the good fortune of actually batting with him. If I could choose one, I'm a real sort of avid fan of the history of the game, and I'd really like to see W.G. Grace, to actually see exactly what the man was like. I mean, you hear all the legends, and you hear about maybe that he wasn't necessarily always the best of sports, but I'd probably just like to go back and bat with him.
Well, he's a man from Gloucestershire, isn't he? Gloucestershire.
He is, yeah. His club is originally, I think it was several clubs, but he played for Downend Cricket Club, which have got a really tiny little ground right in the middle of Downend, which is quite a built-up suburb of Bristol, very, very short boundaries, but a sort of iconic ground where I think quite a few of the Grace brothers played.
I think you'd be batting on some different wickets if you're batting with WG.
Yeah, I think probably that would have been a little bit more difficult then, but that would be another thing I'd like to see, really, in the kit and what the style of bowling was like. It just yeah.
Well, let's hear who Murray would like to bat with. If you could bat with anyone in history, who would it be and why?
Well, it's not a question I've thought about, Stephen, but the most fun watching any batsman that I've ever seen is Viv Richards. I'd love to be up the other end with Viv Richards. I think his approach to he just simply liked to dominate any bowler that he faced. Was never intimidated. I saw him in the World Series when it first started back in Australia. Get hit in the jaw off a top edge from Rod Hogg. Didn't wear helmets back in those days. Simply stand there, shake it off, and hit the next ball for 6 over square leg. That's to me. He was somebody who I would call over a broken glass to watch bat. Obviously, Don Bradman is the standout batsman, but in terms of, and Geoffrey Boycott for that matter, in terms of their craft of batting itself, but Viv Richards, just in terms of his explosiveness and his entertainment value, I think he'd be the one I'd choose.
What does the future hold then for yourself and the England over 70s side?
Well, there was talk, and Murray, I think, is involved with this. He's on the International Seniors Committee, and they're very hopeful of holding an over 70s World Cup in England next year if the English seniors management can put it into the busy schedule for the national competitions. That would be rather lovely. I think Murray was talking about possibly 6 teams, because obviously some teams haven't got up to 70s yet. It's taking more of a time. Over 60s World Cup's going ahead and looks like it's thriving, so it'll come to the 70s. And then after that, who knows? Anno Domini in the 70s makes quite a big difference. I think people said that in this series that our average age seemed to be lower than their team. They had quite a few in their mid-70s, whereas we had more at the lower end of the 70s, and probably made a difference to the fielding.
That'd be fantastic to get other nations involved, though.
Yeah, it would. And it'll happen. Once people get a taste for the seniors cricket and the enjoyment and the competitiveness, they'll continue. And, India and Pakistan have already got over 60 sides. So, eventually it will come.
When do you think the next Ashes will take place?
I don't really know. I would have thought they would probably be somewhere around 2005. 2025, sorry.
You'd like to go back there?
Yeah, 2025, I would have thought. And but I don't know. That's up to the seniors management team to sort out.
Be nice to get some sponsorship for the over 70s, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, and I know that they're actively looking at that. And in fact, I think one of our players, Ian Corns, would like to be involved with that side of things. He seems to be able to source bits of revenue. He did really well for our brochure that we took out to Australia. So, maybe he'll have some success, and, people like Chris Lowe, etc., are always looking for it. And, the press coverage, your podcast, but we've also made the Telegraph, the Guardian, the 60s made Sky TV. People are becoming more and more aware of it.
What about yourself? I know you said you've got an important semi-final coming up.
Yeah, if my foot will hold out, I'm hoping to play tomorrow for Gloucestershire over 70s against Kent. I've been playing for Gloucestershire seniors since I was 50, and we've never made a final. I've been knocked out in semi-finals, quarter-finals, in 50s, 60s, and 70s. I was once beaten by a David Houghton-led Derbyshire in over 60s cricket, and that was a bit sad.
He's a handy player for a test player.
He was superb on that day. He won him the game. Basically, he bowled really well, and then he got 70 odd not out. He was completely committed to the cause and played really well. Yeah.
Best luck with that. Thank you again for being on all three of the Silver Ashes podcast, and also special thanks again to Nick Andrews, Murray Harrison, and Tom Wood. Thank you again, John.
Yeah, a pleasure, Stephen.
Since the recording, John confirmed only last week that the over 70s World Cup is all set for this summer. On a personal level, John helped Gloucestershire win the county over 70s national title for the first time in 30 years. Thanks again for listening to The Paddock and the Pavilion, which is available on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, and now on Amazon Music.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.